From Swoop, it's Take the Plunge, a podcast about how business owners decided to stop what they were doing and took the plunge to start their own businesses. We look at how they came to that decision and what those first crucial steps were in getting their businesses up and running. My name's Kieran, and I'll be your host for this episode. Here's what you can expect on today's episode.
What we're really looking for is people that we think could become stars. Not everyone becomes a star, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but there's a lot of factors that go into who can become a star, and we're trying to do our best guesswork to say, okay, this person has had XYZ channel growth over time on this platform. We think we could help them on this platform or whatever. And oh, by the way, they're probably at the point where esports orgs might want to have them be a content creator for their team, and that's a paycheck.
Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Andrew Drake, co-founder and CEO of Bad Moon Talent. Bad Moon is the vision of esports industry veterans, Andrew and Bryce Facento. It's management for the best and brightest players in esports, representing talent from various game titles, including Call of Duty, Overwatch, Fortnite, and many, many more. Andrew, you're really, really welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So Andrew, can I take you back to before Bad Moon Talent? What were you doing and why did you decide it wasn't for you and you were going to set up your own business?
Yeah, for sure. So, the vast majority of my career has been in gaming. I've worked in gaming since 2010, which basically makes me a dinosaur in this little world of gaming of ours. But I kind of came up through the advertising agency world, and eventually pivoted over to Activision Blizzard in 2012. And for a long time I was working on the marketing side of Call of Duty at Activision, but eventually in like the 2015 2016 time period, I really started to kind of pivot my career towards esports, and there were a lot of reasons for that. But I think the biggest is it kind of combined two of my passions, which is gaming, obviously, and then also competitive sports. And then beyond that, it really seemed like a place within the industry that you could kind of cut your own path. And I think I've been proven right with that mentality at the time. And to answer your question, I was on the teams that launched the Call of Duty World League, which was kind of the first foray of Activision kind of formalizing esports for Call of Duty. And then shortly after that, I was on the team that launched the Overwatch League at Blizzard. And one of my main responsibilities during those times was managing and negotiating talent contracts on behalf of Activision Blizzard. So I think it gave me a bit of a unique perspective of not only kind of what was out there, but also how the competition did it and what they were looking for. And you kind of combine that with many of the people that I negotiated against at some point asked me to leave the company and manage them as a personal agent and a personal manager. So eventually that's what I did.
Awesome. And I suppose curious to understand kind of as you were launching those leagues at Activision and Blizzard, how quickly in terms of the leagues kicking off, could you see that actually there's huge momentum in esports and that you could kind of see real traction both in terms of people viewing, but also actually wanting to come back on a regular basis as you would any other sport?
Yeah, pretty quickly, going back into the 2015, 2016 time period, Call of Duty existed as an esport, but it was kind of a fragmented system of, more one-off events as opposed to a real ecosystem. And we kind of tried to formalize some of the, behaviors and schedules and stuff like that. And then shortly after that, the Overwatch League kind of was Blizzard's first jump into really starting something from scratch. Overwatch was a pretty brand new game at the time and had a very, minimally developed ecosystem for esports, and it kind of let us do our own thing. And then eventually, Call of Duty kind of followed suit with franchise and city-based leagues and teams, a couple of years after that. So, I think the short answer is the viewership was always there. It was before, we at Activision were really, truly caring about esports. And I think the formalization of the league really solidified that. And I think Overwatch was kind of taking it a step further.
And then I suppose from your transition into badminton talent, was that a kind of a gradual process of starting to build up a roster of talent yourself and then make the move, or was it like I'm dropping out right now and then going to build it? How did that come about?
Yeah, it was somewhere in the middle. Look, I mean, when you're on the side of Activision Blizzard, not only can you not obviously sign talent because you work for the
Hmm.
company, so there's definitely that kind of break period where I think I quit Blizzard at the end of August and early September started working for Bad Moon and founding Bad Moon. I want to say we signed our first couple people within the first, I don't know, 10 days probably of the company, and it kind of grew from there. We really kind of started our roster based off of the relationships that we had and the games that we knew best,
Hmm.
and it's kind of expanded out from there, for a lot of reasons. But the biggest is, I think, self-preservation. You can't just rely on a couple games in this industry. You need more than that.
Hmm.
But also, from a talent perspective, I think our work speaks for itself. And because of that, this is a reputation based business, which means if we do right by one person, that can lead to two or three or four recommendations to their friends in the
Mm.
business of, potential people that we could work with, whether they're in the same game or a different game.
And how kind of taking the analogy between kind of the esports and sports side of things from an agent perspective, when you're addressing talent and looking for opportunities on behalf of talent, is it very similar in terms of are you looking at kind of 360 style contracts like you would as a music label, or are
Yeah.
you looking kind of as a football agent to ensure certain kind of commercial rights for kind of brand and relationship that way? Does it work and operate in a very similar system, or are there nuances within the esports industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a short answer and a long answer to that. The short answer is it's basically the same thing as
Yeah.
football or basketball or anything else. The longer and better answer is, agents and managers have only existed in the space for, I don't know, let's say 5 years.
Yeah.
And, this entire industry is kind of happening at warp speed. So, as an example, a lot of people in the movie industry or the music industry or even, traditional sports industries have both an agent and a manager. In our world, that's a lot rarer. I mean, it does happen, and I think it's going to go more and more in that direction over time. But it's a slow grind, I think, of proving value as representation, and it's going to take a little bit longer for the vast majority of people to want both an agent and a manager. So in at least the short term, we act as both. On the agent side, it's more traditional negotiating contracts, and there's certifications. We're in California, so the state of California certifies us as a place that can handle money and do stuff like that. But I strongly prefer the management side, which is, if you were a talent we represented, this could be a call that I was having with, some people that we rep of, okay, your career here is here today. Where do we want to get it in 1 year or 2 years or 5 years? The management side is really about long-term vision of where
Mm.
we're going and where we're trying to get you and how we're going to get you there versus just the strict X's and O's negotiation on the agent side.
Mm. And how have you found it? Because obviously you mentioned at the start getting the initial roster or kind of initial relationships that you've built up, being an industry veteran, understanding it, being part of these kind of nascent leagues. But obviously, as you've grown, if you go on your website and you look at your roster, they've got over 25 million kind of viewers or subscribers across various different channels. So you can't have known them all from where you are today. So how have you managed to kind of stay on top of discovering new talent, bearing in mind there are so many channels out there in which talent can emerge from? Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I have a team of people that work for me that
Yeah.
help a lot in those areas. But the real answer is, there's so many people who want to do this, and by this I mean content creation, streamers, stuff like that, YouTube creators. That the supply of people that are potential options and potential clients for us is kind of endless.
Gotcha.
Now that being said, we look for specific things in the people that we want to work with. Growth over time of channels is a big one, but what we're really looking for is people that we think could become stars. Not
Yeah.
everyone becomes a star, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but there's a lot of factors that go into who can become a star, and we're trying to do our best guesswork to say, okay, this person has had XYZ channel growth over time on this platform. We think we could help them on this platform or whatever. And oh, by the way, they're probably at the point where esports orgs might want to have them be a content creator for their team, and that's a paycheck. Sponsors are going to want to work with them for whatever reason. Those are significant paychecks, stuff like that.
So, like, I suppose to take a different analogy for business, like you kind of take a wagon wheel approach when analyzing them and looking, are they have different kind of leadership, say, qualities which you get in like corporate
Yeah,
business to see the type of person. Whereas, I suppose from your perspective, okay, do they have potential charisma? Do they have good engagement? But actually, are they genuinely good at the games that they play so that they can perform over a longer period of time? So
yeah.
I suppose it's that wagon wheel approach of understanding. So yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. Kind of going back then to the Bad Moon talent operational, getting up and running side of things. As you mentioned, you've now got a team of people that are able to kind of skate and check things out. But I'd imagine that wasn't the case from day one. Who, when you were looking to kind of scale up the agency or bring people in, who were the first kind of initial roles you brought in, and why did you need those type of roles at that time?
Yeah, I mean, when my business partner Bryce Faceno and I founded the company, it was just two of us for, I don't know, I want to say the first 8 or 9 months. When you're starting a two-person company, sure, you have a title and he has a title or whatever, but like the titles are irrelevant. The job is get the job done, however you want to split it up. Our first hire came on board, I think roughly 10 days before COVID became a worldwide issue, which, as you could probably guess, not the best time to make your
No.
first hire. That person is named Reed Trimble. He's based out of Toronto. He is our director of sponsorship and partnerships, and he's fantastic. He just, came on board with us at literally the worst possible time for a lot of people. But, we had gotten to the point where we knew what we were good at and what we were bad at and what we needed help with. And, booking sponsorships for our people and for our streamers was the top priority, and someone to truly focus on that every single day. And that's why we hired in that area. For the first couple months Reed was with us, it was a real struggle because the world just kind of stopped, or at least the business world kind of stopped. And
Yeah.
because of that, nobody was looking to, I don't know, spend their money in this space,
Yeah.
just like every other space.
Yeah.
But I think one of the benefits of being in gaming is, I think, quickly people realize, like, okay, they're at home
Back home
more.
playing.
And yeah, and and even esports, like, we were really the first sports competition to come back, and there were a lot of reasons for it, but
Yeah.
the
I
biggest is,
people,
we're a digitally native product. So
yeah.
unlike the Premier League that had to have
Yeah.
butts in seats and stuff like that, and worry about stuff like that, and have competition where you were sweating on each other, like,
Yeah.
it was just different. And we came back quicker because of that.
Mm.
So I'd say we had kind of one month that was really rough as a business, and then quickly kind of pivoted into our new reality.
Yeah, because I was really fascinated to ask you about that because obviously, as you rightly alluded to, people like panicked because marketeers were like, "Fact this, I'm not spending any money until we get a grip on it." But as you
Yep.
say, everyone's back in their houses; they can't do anything else but be in the house. So therefore, your time period to get involved in things like gaming is huge. Worldwide, everyone loves sports. On the majority, we're absolutely starved of sports. Like basically, the only thing I think going was the Belarusian league. Like I know the betting companies are going mad because that was the only league that people could watch and play actual physical sports. So I'm fascinated to understand the kind of counterbalance to that from your perspective. Was there a huge uptake in new fans, engagement rates? What was it like during that kind of, I suppose, would have been kind of May 2020 to August 2020 period? What was that like for esports as an industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'd go bigger than esports and just think of it as like gaming agnostic.
Yeah,
Esports is roughly 4-ish% of the total gaming audience.
perfect.
So gaming is obviously a lot larger. I think there were a couple easy benefits to point to. How do I say this? Traditional TV network execs had no live sports to put on TV for a long time. And I think that kind of opened up their minds to consider things like esports and gaming that they probably wouldn't have put on their airwaves, if traditional sports were continuing. So I think that conversation moved probably roughly 2 years faster than I think it would have without COVID. And then the other thing is, as I touched on earlier, with just people being in their house more, people had more time to come back to gaming. So, if you look at the really just any gaming metric at that time, hours played, stuff like that was just through the roof. And it was because people had more time to reconsider gaming if they had kind of lapsed out of it. Again, like we had kind of one really rough month as not only a company, but just our general space and really the whole world. But I think we kind of pivoted into our digital reality and new reality quicker than most, just based on what we are as a product.
And just picking up on the point you make around TV, were you guys able to accelerate relationships with TV networks? Because what we saw is some of the founders we've chatted to on this podcast have taken advantage of the TV segment, because as early stage companies, often they'd always ignore it as an advertising channel because it's incredibly expensive. But however, because of the pandemic, people moving to digital channels, whatever, TV stations were kind of panicking a bit, particularly the sports segments, dropping the rates for advertising. So we saw kind of a flood of businesses using it as a channel to push out their kind of products or whatever they're advertising, and benefiting massively from it because it was a different price point for them. Did you find you were able to kind of engage kind of TV networks a lot better because of the pandemic?
Yeah, to a certain degree. I'm not sure there's a really perfect answer to that question.
Okay.
I think the world of traditional TV and our world of gaming and the Twitches of the world are still pretty fragmented for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pandemic has sped up that conversation of the traditional TV types considering gaming and realizing the potential in the space. But I personally believe traditional TV needs us more than we need them. And, I think that's a pretty hard realization for people that have worked in TV for 50 years or whatever, and it's just been the way of the world. I'm 36, so I grew up with very traditional TV as a big part of my world and my reality. But kids today that are 16, 17, 18, they don't have the same viewership habits that I had 20 years ago. That I'm based in the States, and I say this every once in a while. Like, if you asked a 16-year-old what shows do they watch on ABC, it's like they don't even know what you're talking about, let alone like have an answer to the question. So,
It's so true.
I mean, take that however you want, but
Yeah,
I think that it's going to be fascinating to see what happens in the
yeah,
next 5 years, and I think that
absolutely.
as traditional TV becomes quite different than it's always been,
Yeah.
I think gaming is going to be one of the sectors that really benefit from that.
So tell me this. Obviously, yourself and Bryce hire Reed at the world's possibly worst timing. However, overcome it. Actually, trends are going in your favor. Things are starting to pick up. At what stage then do you start to go, okay, we're onto something, let's grow the business further? What do you start to do operationally then? Do you look to take on funding? Do you take on more staff? At what point do you start to build?
Yeah, I mean, it was a gradual build. I think as you said, and I said earlier, like when we hired our first employee, it was a really rough time, and you know we had to deal with that and make sure that we could continue to pay salaries and continue to operate a functioning business. We brought our fourth employee on in I want to say September or October, probably October of last year, and his name is Mark. He works under me on the talent management side. And then we've actually just brought on our fifth employee, I don't know, 2, 3 months ago. Her name is Kathy. She works under Reed on the sponsorship side and executing campaigns. The only money we've ever taken from, investors was from my parents when we started the business. And, we paid that loan back to my parents within, I think, about 9 months. And we've never taken another dollar from any outside investors. There's a lot of benefits to that. There's a lot of negatives to that. The obvious benefits are, my business partner and I own virtually the entire company, and we don't have debts to anyone, or the other things, I don't have a boss. I am my own boss, which is
Yeah.
obviously amazing. There's technically no one I answer to except myself and to my business partner. The downside is, we don't have some golden parachute that's sitting behind me of if things go badly for 3 months or
Yeah.
6 months or a year, that's not an option, you know? So look, I mean, there's pros and cons to the route we took. I'm not sure there's the right answer to what we should do or what we should have done. And I'm, definitely not in a position where wouldn't consider taking outside funding in 2022 or beyond. I
Hmm.
mean, just yesterday I was talking about reworking on our investor deck, which we've used previously, and we've had a lot of these conversations, but some have gone close to working, and some kind of just go absolutely nowhere. And we're in a position where that's okay, regardless of what happens, and until we find the right outside partner to that we would actually want to work with, it's probably not going to be something that we strongly consider until that day comes.
Just getting back, I suppose, to the talent and the roster that you have, how do you strike the balance between obviously managing the current roster that you have and looking to kind of work with them and developing their communities, their careers, opportunities with businesses and brands, whilst also keeping your eye on the ball on the new talent, and how does that balance work for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest recruitment tool we have is just doing right by the people that we manage. So I don't know, I think we
Hmm.
manage about 41, 42 exclusive people at this point. And what that means is there's no one else in the market that is representing them, working for them, et cetera. You know, this is the most relationship based business that I've ever worked in. And what I mean by
Yeah.
that is if you do right by one person in one game, they're going to tell at least one of their friends that these people are helping me out and here's how. And there's a ripple effect of that. I mean, we barely worked in a game called Valorant a year ago, and now I think we manage I don't know, 8 people that work in that game full time. Many of which work in Europe, which at
Yeah.
a year ago we didn't even have that many European clients.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I think the real answer is we do right by the people that we manage, and
Hmm.
we don't take on anyone that we don't feel we're going to do a great job for. And then as far as like outside recruitment, it's kind of a two-way street of friends telling friends, and then us also always
Hmm.
being on the lookout for people that we think could become stars with our help.
And in that, like the fact that you have talent spread across the globe, and the fact that there's 41 of them, and the fact that we just went through a pandemic, do you find there's certain tools that you use as a business from an operational perspective that allow you to kind of manage engagement, manage kind of communication with them, keep in touch, keep track? And if so, kind of what kind of tools have you been using, and why have you found them useful?
Yeah, I mean, the tool that we use the most is Discord. I'm not sure
Hmm.
how familiar you are, but it's basically
Yep.
Slack for the younger generation. From our perspective, the time zones actually matter a lot less than you would think, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But people who work in gaming, it's not exactly a 9 to 5 job. So, as an
You're trying
example,
to take this very politically correct response.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people that I manage, they don't really start their workday until, an audience is ready to view their
The time.
content.
Yeah.
So, I can tell you my normal workday, and normal kind of used in quotes, like my busiest time of the day is between like 7:30 a.m. and noon. And then I have a little bit of a lull kind of in the middle of my day. And then
Yeah.
coming out of, dinner time, it's like the workday starts again. And I think that's partially due to the global nature of our client roster, but it's also, even just looking at people in the States, like I'm based in Los Angeles, and 5 o'clock in LA is 8 o'clock East Coast, which is prime time viewership hours for a lot of US based streamers.
Yeah.
So, those are their business hours. So I have
Yeah.
to kind of flex to that schedule. And I think Discord's a really nice tool to communicate with our people regardless of what time
Hmm.
zone they're operating in.
I think that's, yeah, it's really interesting that that's the tool of choice, because as you say, yeah, it is usually something you'd associate never with a business, but with kind of younger generation.
Yeah, I mean, Discord is we do calls like this on Discord. We do
Yeah.
text, or text based chats,
Gotcha.
whatever you want to call it, and we can also set up groups quickly. So as an example, like if we have an esports org that needs to talk directly with our people, but we need to also be included on that, we can have kind of a three-way conversation, and everybody sees what everyone's talking about. And the younger generation deals with, I think, things like email a lot less than definitely when
Mm.
I started my career.
Yeah.
I know I'm the oldest guy on our team, and I deal with email every single day, but it's just a different world today.
Yeah.
So we have to flex around what our people do.
Yeah. And just kind of curious to pick up on any kind of trends you might have seen. So obviously you were talking about different global time zones, and I was just wondering, have you seen any kind of nuances in terms of any geographies that got really into gaming or esports over the last kind of year or so? Because I'm always kind of fascinated when I look at things like Spotify data, how much people in Latin America consume music
Yep.
over and above any other region around the world. Does the same thing apply in gaming?
Yeah, it does. I think the two biggest growth countries that I think are going to really, really matter more and more every single year are Brazil and India. I think there's a lot of obvious things to look at, but it's basically the convergence of lots and lots of people, everyone having a cell phone, regardless of what country you are in, and things like 5G internet kind of
Yeah.
expanding. And if you roughly look at those couple things, you can kind of predict where things are going to matter a lot. Those two countries are massive in the mobile esports space, which is a space
Hmm.
that we're kind of just starting to operate here in the States and in Europe. But, I think of it like this: everyone's got a cell phone, right? Not
Yeah.
everyone has a PC or a console because they cost a lot of money. And
Yeah.
also, it's not necessarily a necessity as much as a phone is. So, those countries care more and more about things like mobile esports because
Hmm.
that's what all their friends have. Everyone's got a phone in those countries, and that's what they gravitate towards.
So picking up on that trend, then have you noticed a difference in, say, the popularity or the types of the kind of games that are coming on the scene in terms of what people are engaging en masse with? Are they more simplified style games because they have to be driven by mobile? Does that correlate, or what's your observations?
Not as much anymore as it would have been, 4 or 5 years ago. Phones are so good at this point, and the developers who make games specifically for mobile are also so good at what they do that the games look pretty much virtually identical on your phone as it would on a PC or a console. And I think that's just another thing that really has positively impacted mobile
Mm.
esports scenes. Yeah, it's crazy how good games look on mobile these days, and also how similar they can be to, the console or PC based version of some of these titles as well.
And what are kind of a couple of the games that you are kind of keeping tabs on, in that they're kind of growing kind of mini communities and esports players out of at the moment, that kind of are kind of just kind of coming on the scene?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's just coming on the scene necessarily, but Call of Duty and, Warzone within Call of Duty have always been kind of our bread and butter. I don't
Hmm.
see any world where those go down in popularity anytime soon. Valorant, as I touched on earlier, is a game made by Riot that didn't exist, 18 months ago or whatever it was, and I think is only going to grow in popularity over time. Things like Roblox are it's a fascinating experience, and I think it kind of there's a phrase here of skating towards where the puck is going, and that's kind of what Roblox is in my opinion. Of I
Yeah.
think, as Facebook becomes meta, and they're doing that because they're building a world and a digital experience. Roblox I think is going to pivot nicely into that new future, and also it works well with brands and the ability to build branded worlds within their game. It's kind of a game that's just going to make a lot of sense over time, and I think you're going to see a massive, massive growth in that game, in that experience over the next couple of years.
And how do you feel like that will the backdrop for kind of, I suppose, the mass market simplistic games? If you think of like Kings, Candy Crush, or Zynga's Farmville, do you feel that they may fall more into the background, or there's still going to be a huge appetite for those type of games alongside the kind of more kind of gaming esports community?
Yeah, so I was at Activision Blizzard when they acquired King, and I remember at the time it was I think nearly a $6 billion acquisition, and there
Yeah.
was a lot of reasons for it, but the biggest is Candy Crush as a game, which is, King's bread and butter, has a massive player base, and that player base is spending massive amounts of money, not only at the time, but
Mhm.
still through today, which I think is, I don't know, 5, 6 years later. And the real answer is there's a massive audience for games like Candy Crush and Farmville that's a much more casual experience, but it's still gaming. It's just
Yeah.
another sector of gaming. And I think it also kind of speaks to, those type of games generally have a higher percentage of female based audience. And I think the female audience in gaming is still a massively underserved, community and group. And I think
Hmm.
more and more developers are going to produce more and more games that specifically target a more casual audience. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
And then I suppose for you guys, as you've mentioned, you've sort of kind of gradually built the team up, and you're managing your roster now of 41. What are the kind of couple of things that you're looking to do a bit differently as a business over the next 12 months to kind of improve your offering and improve how you run the business? Kind of what are the areas you're focused on?
We're always looking to scale. I think there's a lot of ways to scale, but the easiest for us as an agency is to expand our roster. It's hard to have a crystal ball here, but I would guess that we probably are managing, I don't know, 60 to 70 clients a year from now. To do that, we're going to have to bring on more staff, and we will. I think it's one of those things where if we scale the way we've currently scaled, it's kind of a brick by brick approach. If we scale via outside investment, that's obviously a different conversation and kind of can speed up that growth, but also, comes with different risks as well. So hard to predict which way we end up going, but in the short term, we're going to continue doing what we're doing because it's working to this point, and we're running a profitable business, and that's the goal.
Awesome. Yeah, always the goal. Make more money than you spend. Thanks a mil, Andrew. I've absolutely loved this. Like as I was saying to you before we started chatting, I'm just fascinated by the space, and thanks for sharing so much of your knowledge, and also giving us an insight into Badminton Talents and how you've got it from a brand new business to where it is today. And so thanks so much for sharing everything with us rather, and. I wish you all the best for Badminton Talents, and I hope to see that you've got 70 plus in 12 months' time, whether that's organically growing it or taking in external investment. But thanks so much again for coming on and telling us about the badminton journey.
I appreciate that. And you and me both on the 70 people. So
Yeah.
let's hope we get there.
Well, it seems like you're doing a pretty good job so far. So more of that.
I appreciate it. This is fun.